Finally, we get that breather you were looking
Well,
for,
that's
Andrew.
right. Excited to talk fashion.
Indeed. You're very excited this morning because I think we've got something quite special that maybe you can take some pointers from Menswear.
Well, you don't take pointers from me.
All right, well, earlier in June, Australia was the guest nation at the world's biggest menswear event, Pitti Uomo, in Florence. 8 emerging Australian menswear designers showed their collections, and the laid-back Aussie vibe was a hit.
For more on this and other fashion news, we're joined by Patty Huntington, fashion journalist. Patty, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, don't critique what I'm wearing, but
We can't see what you're wearing
well,
entirely.
the top.
No.
You're doing a Ron Burgundy behind the desk.
All right, so let's talk about men's fashion and this laid-back Aussie vibe, which I guess you'd expect from Aussie designers.
What do you do? I mean, this is our lifestyle, and you know, we aren't Europe, we aren't the United States, we're Australia, where we're sort of, you know, the world's largest island, and you know, sort of beachwear and resort wear and stuff is very much part of our sort of DNA, as they call it in the fashion business. So yes, Australian designers were a big focus at Pitti Uomo, or they were the guest nation, and it was a big hit. This is the spring 2018 menswear season, which just kicked off. And look, it's the first time there's been a special showcase of Australians, and it was very popular. This guy, Richard Jarman, who has a brand called Commerce, apparently he's a finance guy who turned, you know, into a swimwear designer sort of last year. Double Rainbow brand from Sydney. And yeah, it was very popular. It was also popular because it was in the basement area at the 14th century fort where this trade show is held, and you know, with the heat wave that they're experiencing over there,
It's sweltering in Europe at the moment, so perhaps the Australian fashion statement is something that will take off.
Well, interesting you should say that, because Double Rainbow, which was launched by these two guys who used to be the creative and art directors at Subi, very famous, it's obviously a cult Australian streetwear brand. They launched their brand last year, Double Rainbow, they looked for a gap in the market, and they found something that they thought they could do something interesting with, and that is the Hawaiian shirt. And funnily enough, you know, they've had some big sort of fans, one of the, no larger than Justin Bieber, who was photographed in one of their shirts in May. But on the runways in Europe over the past couple of weeks, Hawaiian shirts have been...
now, come on, Patty, don't tell me it's making a comeback.
They're definitely making a comeback. Here's Justin Bieber on a camel in Dubai.
Just because Justin Bieber's wearing it, that's probably a reason not to
Well,
wear it.
I was going to say that could be a little bit of a risk for you wanting to make your, you know, your fashion designs a profile.
He's got 88 million, I think, sort of Instagram fans and stuff. So in the last couple of weeks, Hawaiian shirts have been. So I'm not suggesting the Australians kicked that off, but you know, they were sort of ahead of the curve, and they've since branched off into other things as well. So Hawaiian shirts, bucket hats as well. So I mean, you know, the world is getting hotter. I mean, Europe is going through a sort of terrible heat wave.
Yeah, I'm just taking a look at some of those images there.
Yes.
You know, particularly the pants, the style for men, and most recently, of course, has been very tight, sort of almost stovepipe type pants. Are we getting away from that now?
We definitely are. I mean, you've talked about previous images about the sort of the oversized sort of thing. So, I mean, that's partly the result of a couple of sort of different designers, but also I think there's a big streetwear influence in fashion. And, you know, streetwear has kind of become high fashion. And look, another one of the trends that we've seen in the past week has been called dad chic or dad core, which is a spin on norm core. And look, French brand Balenciaga actually sent out, devoted its sort of collection to fathers and sent out models with kids on their hips and stuff, and it was very much, I mean, you know, sort of dad chic with sort of high-waisted baggy jeans, loose shirts, sort of 90s trainers.
Not the socks and sandals, though. I've heard
socks and
that
sandals
was
as well.
in there.
Socks and sandals as well. I mean, look at this guy here. I mean,
He's in his gym jams.
That's very kind of dad chic. And I should say, a poster boy for this. I mean, Barack Obama was constantly sort of derided or sort of, you know, flagged for his sort of dad jeans, which are sort of baggy jeans, and you know, perhaps he was sort of a bit of a poster boy there.
So it's baggy, daggy look.
Baggy, daggy, loose, and yeah, oversized.
Big belts.
Not skin tight anymore.
No. Okay.
Well, maybe another Australian influence as well that we're seeing in menswear fashion is the shorts.
Shorts, of course, and you know, we forget that Australian men live in shorts, certainly in summer, and many of them in winter too. If you go I've been to weddings in far north Queensland where guys have been wearing shorts. They're not such a big deal in the Northern Hemisphere, and of course they do wear them, but so much so that there's been so many shorts on the runways in the last week that American Vogue asked this question, this heinous shorts trend, what is going on? So we've seen them on the runways, particularly really short shorts and
Studded shorts.
Either super short shorts or now this is an extension of this is the romper. This is a
you can incorporate everything all in one.
and all in one. That's right. And a play suit for women has been very popular. These four MBA graduates in America did a Kickstarter back in May for a male romper called the Romp Him and raised over $400,000 Australian in 1 week. And two American cops who are sort of online and sort of comedians, real life cops apparently, launched something that they called the Cop Romper, which a couple of police departments in the last few weeks in America have actually really run with as a sort of joke. So these are lace shorts for men. These weren't on the runways, but this was also launched in the last month. So it's a very big sort of talking point. And look, in the last week, who could have not noticed the news stories about the British schoolboys who wore skirts to school because they were protesting that they couldn't wear shorts?
Yeah, interesting. At my primary school, where my kids are going, there's a move now to try and get the girls into trousers in winter, which I know is happening at other schools as well.
Well, I mean, it's warmer, isn't it?
Yeah, well, just a bit easier, I guess.
Well, they can wear stockings, I suppose. But interestingly, I mean, there was a huge amount in the same week. I mean, there's been publicity in the French bus and tram drivers in Nantes, in the west of France, also wore skirts, protesting that they couldn't wear shorts. And in both cases, I should say, the British schoolboys and the French bus drivers both managed to sort of have the dress code reversed because it's very hot. I mean, why should they be sort of in unair-conditioned, apparently, buses?
Can you dress up in shorts, as in sort of make it formal? You used to talk about going to a wedding where some of the guys are wearing shorts. I mean, could you do it with a suit top and shorts, and then what do you wear on your feet? Is it thongs or is it long socks?
That's very Ron Burgundy, isn't it? Who knows? I think the rules are really changing very quickly.
They are changing very quickly. And speaking of rules, we've got a bit of a stoush brewing. A New Zealand and an Australian graphics designers are not sure whether Gucci might have borrowed some of their designs, and I think there seems to be a bit of a case to be had here.
Well, that's obviously between the designers' representatives, but look, it's been brewing on sort of social media. I should point out that Gucci's resort women's wear collection from a month ago had some. This is a T-shirt. With this logo, and this is a bag with the sort of the panther logo, and these young Antipodean designers say, well, this is actually our logos that we designed, and they're claiming that they've taken them. Gucci sort of had this thing where it said Guccify yourself and Guccified, and in fact, 3 weeks ago, the brand was criticised for sort of ripping off, or allegedly ripping off, a design from 1989 by a Harlem tailor who dressed all the hip-hop elite, and they since referred to that as an homage. Now, look, in the past 48 hours, another sort of stoush has sort of erupted, and that is between another French brand called Balenciaga, which is actually owned by the same company that owns Gucci, and it copied a logo from a record label from the 1980s. So, look, you can do an homage. The designer behind Balenciaga made a very famous T-shirt last year which sold out using the DHL logo. Now, that was an authorised use. I mean, copyright is a very sort of interesting issue, and the lawyer representing the designers thinks that they have a strong case.
Patty, just before you go, I did briefly want to talk about accessories, and forget the handbag.
Yes.
It's all about the luxury shopping bag.
Luxury shopping bag. Well, Balenciaga again in the news this week because it's I think, four-figure leather version of its own shopping bag sort of hit the stores. This was first unveiled in the men's shows actually earlier in the year. And people are sort of saying how crazy that you can just go and get a paper bag or buy something cheap and get a paper. But look, it's not a new idea. Chanel did it a couple of years ago.
But seriously, are you paying for these bags?
Well, I'm not paying for it, but there are people who are paying. And Louis Vuitton did it back in 2006. It wasn't their own shopping bag, but it was one of those sort of cheap and cheerful
I might have a number of those
bags. Well, you can just put your own logo on it. And so it's kind of low, high, low, taking something that's kind of, and then putting a luxury spin on it. But look, why do people pay so much for sort of luxury, designer handbags? I mean, when you can get something cheaper, I mean, it's sort of very tongue-in-cheek, taking ordinary objects.
They have too much money.
Just don't leave it on the train.
No, that's right.
That's right. Patty Huntington, always wonderful to have you with us. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.